What's up?
Okay, I'm up. You're up. When I was a kid, I had rheumatic fever, and they sent me to a place called Cardinal Hayes convalescent home, which was up in Millbrook, New York. I was an altar boy there, was a benediction boy every night, and still I didn't know what Christianity was about. All I knew was I had to take the incense and put it in the lantern on the altar. I knew my routine, but I didn't know what Christianity was about. I was considered a Roman Catholic at the time. But anyway, as time went on, I was in college and whatnot. I became a member of the Newman Club, and still I didn't know what Christianity was all about. And then I got to be what they call an agnostic, a person who knows there's something there. What makes the sun come out? And stars and whatnot. So I knew there was something there, but I kept saying, God, show me something. Show me some kind of a miracle so I can be a believer. And what happened was when I was 45 years old, I was working at Albany High School. I was a coach and I was a phys ed teacher. And I went to get Band-Aids from the school nurse, who was a Jehovah's Witness. And we used to always talk about religion. And while I'm talking to her, what I thought was a rude student pulled me above my right elbow, and I thought he wanted my attention. And I don't know why I thought it was a he, but probably because he came out of the locker room. But anyway, he pulled me again, and the nurse said, "I'll go get your Band-Aids," and she went to her right. So when he pulled me the second time, I turned around real quick. There was no one there except the door. And I figured it couldn't be that fast, but I ran to the door anyway, and I looked both ways. There was no one there. And to me, it was, at that time, I didn't know what happened to me, but I got my family together that afternoon in the back bedroom, and I explained what happened. And next thing I did is starting to search what happened to me. And the first books I read were Perles books, the New and the Old Testament. And then I read Dr. Moody's books, Life After Life and Reflections of Life After Life, and every book I could find about miracles and whatnot. So I knew the miracle happened to me, and at that point I was not an agnostic anymore. What I didn't know is that was when I was 45. 3 years later, I had open heart surgery, and my heart stopped on the table. But before it stopped on the table, I couldn't breathe, and I started to go in a coma. And my son and my daughter both broke into the operating room. My son put his hands on my chest. My daughter put her hands on my stomach. But just before that, I said, "Dear Lord, I'm not gonna suffer here. I'm just gonna die." I said, "Dear Lord, forgive me for my sins. Please take care of my family." And then I went into the coma. It was like I was going into a deep sleep. And that's when I heard my son say, "Dad, we're going to pray on you." And never opened my eyes, but I said, "You better hurry up." I accepted death. So anyway, during the process, I remember waking up, and all these hands came down and said, "You're all right." And I went back into the coma again. And what apparently happened there was the second time my heart stopped, the usual electric shock. Well, when I woke up in intensive care, and I was under drugs and stuff. I looked around and I says, where am I? Is this where they recreate you? or did I live? I couldn't believe that I'd be alive. And I kind of dozed, and all of a sudden I heard, "Mr. Z, stay awake." And I went and I looked. There's a very pretty nurse on my right side sitting there watching me in intensive care.
Was it your wife?
No, it wasn't my wife. But anyway, I knew I didn't die. And from that day on, I was a true believer. And even when the Lord came, the Holy Spirit, I believe, came, pulled my arm, I became a believer. And I have been ever since. And I know Peter said he would never give up the Lord. Well, that's how I feel right now. But Peter found out about the rooster, crowing twice. So I don't say things like that. I just believe in the Lord. And I should have had this baptism done a long time ago. So I was kind of procrastinating.
You and me.
Never know.